Should New England have done anything different with Tom Brady?
43-year-old quarterback Bill Belichick has been one of the best evaluators of talent when it comes to knowing when a guy is past his prime. And honestly, the last couple of seasons from Brady, I can understand why he felt that maybe he was past his prime, and then this past season happens.
New England missed the playoffs. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. Should New England have handled that differently?
They could have tried to, but what could they have done? And
they could have made Tom happy.
How?
They could have given the TB12 architect free reign of the building. They could have put Alex Guerrero in charge of all the training regimen.
They did give Alex Guerrero a lot.
They could have asked and said, which receivers do you specifically want, and I'll make sure that we go and sign each and every one of those guys. Do you want us to have one person specifically who you just scream at on the sidelines? Done. We'll do that. He'll be your human voodoo doll.
Ultimately, you got to hit on the picks. And Belichick picked N'Keal Harry and did not pick DK Metcalf. I mean, and that ultimately is why I think also that Tom Brady is elsewhere. If he had a guy like that.
Should New England have done something differently with Tom? Is it a failure on New England's part, what happened, or is this just the nature of movement in the NFL, and they won as much as they possibly could and more than anybody could have expected with Brady, and it was time for it to be done?
It's a failure on their part. They didn't do a good job building on offense.
If that's the case, should Seattle be approaching this differently? If it's a failure on New England, should Seattle be approaching this differently?
You can. I would just say this. Like, there's no comparison between Russ and Tom Brady, no matter what Russ thinks. So, I mean, deal with that, Russ. Like, that. There's no comparison. So you're asking for things that half man, half deity was able to ask for and not get.
I don't think he's Tom Brady's not descended from the heavens.
Well, some people might think
Tom Brady is not descended from the heavens.
I'm not going to deny it.
One of the things that I like most about this show is that over the course of 3 hours, Paul and I can pivot to exact opposite sides of the argument. If you were listening at 7 a.m., I was the one that was fired up and ready to, that's right, we'll move on. We're not waiting on you, buddy boy. And Paul was advocating for the arranged marriage and you have to do everything. And now it's that Russell Wilson isn't quite Tom Brady, and he needs to accept that.
I mean, that is how I would, as you will, in that book, The Game. That is how I would take him down a peg or two. But here's the thing: I still believe in the arranged marriage, and I think that both of these sides are being ridiculously stubborn here. I mean, don't you? It is ridiculous that it got to this point. Yes, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. Still 12-4 in the best division in the NFL.
It's not ridiculous in the sense that these things happen. I don't think it's ridiculous that Russ wants to throw more and would rather have an offense that's not governed by Pete Carroll. I don't think that's ridiculous.
But he threw a lot. Like that. See, some of the things that he takes issue with, they just like Michael Robinson, just like Robert Turbin. I'm like, what? What? They're giving you these things. How much more do you want, Mouse, who's eating the whole cookie box?